Well, hello, good day, and welcome. This is something different. We're doing a video today, so you can't shout at me in the comments. Well, you can probably, and you probably will. Anyway, we're doing the 1960s touring car experience today. So we're here at Goodwood in some good old-fashioned 60s touring cars for a 15-lap sprint to get a feel for what this would have looked like back in the day. Thought we'd try something different anyway, so let's get on with it. This is in Assetto Corsa. We're using the TC Legends mod, which is only a short bugle away, and oops, yep, gotta use the clutch. So the Alpha to the left, and one of the Mustangs behind. So the AI spread themselves out nicely already, so hopefully they'll behave themselves. Can't always be guaranteed in AC, but there are a few steps you can do to help them. One of the most important ones I've found is let them qualify and make sure their skill levels are a bit spread out. That way they don't bunch up, which is where all your problems happen. Your races won't look as spectacular, but you might at least get a clean one. You can get side by side with the GTA down the back straight here. Brake as late as we dare. Down to third gear. Oh, God, I did not want to turn in there. Up towards the chicane. Down a second. Just skim the bricks. And those are solid in game. Yeah, it looks like we've dropped into a little bit of a gap, so we'll try and talk our way through the lap. Up towards turn one. This is I think this one's Magic. Third gear, try and hit the double apex. Accelerating out. Little kink here. Up towards the corner before St Mary's. This is where Sterling Moss had his crash. For us here it's brakes and down to third gear. Sling the car in to the right, another dab of the brakes to the left, try and nicely slide the car through, up towards 11, this will be a second gear double apex corner. We'll accelerate all the way through the second part of it and onto the Lavant straight, which isn't straight. And then through that corner, which I can never remember what it's called, anyway it's third gear, and then down to second for the chicane again. Trying to hold on to the car on the exit, it's easy to load up the rears and spin. And now we're under attack by a Mustang. His big V8's got me on the straight, but I'm quicker through the corners than him. Oh, there's the first retirement. There will be a few of those. So I've tried a few of my tricks to get them to behave, but I can't guarantee that it'll work. Very famously, the David and Goliath battles of Cortina versus Mustang, Mini versus everything, are what this era of touring cars is probably best known for. Though a lot of people don't realise that it was actually a multi-class race. So this group of Mustangs in front of me, and I think there's a Fairline or two in there as well, they'll actually have been in a different class. They'll have been in the unlimited class for, well, as big an engine size as you wanted. Then there would have been something like a 2-litre class for the Cortinas and similar, then a 1.5 litre and probably a 1 litre as well, which have been where you'll find your Minis, your Hillman Imps, that sort of thing. What was very odd about this championship was all classes scored points towards the same championship. So if you won Class D, for example... Oh, God! Oh! I think we got away with that. So if you won Class D, for example, you would score maximum points towards the same overall championship as the guy who won in Class A, B and C and so on. But there wasn't an individual championship for each class, if that makes sense. It doesn't really, that's probably why no one remembers it. But it was that way for a very long time, right up until the 1991, I believe, when the Super Tour regs kicked in. What you would often find is the top class, the unlimited class, would be very competitive with top drivers and big cars. But because it was so competitive, the drivers would be stealing points from each other. And so someone in Class C or Class D who was able to be more consistent and win more often in their class would often end up winning the championship. And that didn't really change until the BSCC went to TV in the late 80s, as it was felt that didn't make much sense for a TV audience, that a Vauxhall Astra that had finished a lap down on the winning Sierra, how has that car won the championship? But enough about that. I'm sure that made no sense to anyone. Another interesting thing that did occur with the unrestricted class is some of the cars that did show up. The first big American cars to show up were the Ford Galaxies. What happened with those? Well, quite literally, that was a NASCAR stock car. The team bought and imported one from America, direct from what we now know as the NASCAR Cup Series. Didn't change anything on it at all, pretty much, and entered it in a BSCC race. And it would go on to be quite the dominant force. Can you imagine something like that happening nowadays? How the motorsport collective internet would implode with, well, all kinds of interesting emotions if a BTCC team nowadays turned up one year and said, yeah, we've just bought a NASCAR Cup car and we're just going to run it with all the NGTC cars. Well, I would quite like to see that. I think that could be entertaining. Maybe that's an idea for another video. Depending on how well this one turns out. We're closing back up with our friend in the wayward Mustang here. It wasn't just NASCARs that showed up to race in BSCC though in the 60s. There was quite a lot of variety in there. People even tried to pass Porsche 911s off as touring cars to enter them. And other things like two-stroke Saabs were even tried, and a few various flavours of Volvo. So a lot of variety to be seen. It's just something I think we're missing in most modern racing these days. It's nothing mad, which is a shame, but that's the way it goes. What about the track we're racing on? So obviously this is Goodwood. This is how it looks nowadays. Back in the 60s it would have looked a bit different. The main difference visually from where we are, obviously there would have been no barriers, and the spectator banks that we see around the track nowadays wouldn't have existed. That was added in the 90s when the track reopened to try and keep the noise under control. The track opened in 1948, as so many of Britain's circuits were. It's essentially the perimeter around an old RAF airfield of for the sake of YouTube, let's call it the second small disagreement. And yes, I have been watching Auto Shenanigans. Go check him out, he's funny. But yeah, after that the track held all sorts of racing through the late 40s into the mid 60s, from Formula 1 races, although all non-championship ones, saloon cars, club racing, even a few rounds of the World Sports Car Championship with the Tourist Trophy and the Goodwood 9-hour races. Until 1966, when the track was closed. Basically because it needed upgrades, and the landowner at the time wasn't willing to invest the money. So the BARC, who ran the track, moved to another former airfield, well, another former RAF airfield, not too far away, over at Thruxton, where they are still to this day. But, when it closed to racing, that wasn't the end for Goodwood. The track stayed pretty much in situ for a very long time, and it was still used for testing and other things like that all through 60s, 70s and 80s. That was how Bruce McLaren met his end, testing a Can-Am car here in 1970. Until in the mid-90s, the owners of the track decided it should come back. As the Goodwood Festival of Speed had taken off, they decided to do the same sort of thing with the racetrack, and that's where the Goodwood Revival started, which is well worth checking out on the YouTube. Some very pretty cars being raced very hard. Anyway, 9 laps in, we're hanging on between these two Mustangs still. There you go, that's a nice 4-wheel slide. But it can't out-drag him. Now you get back there. You see the AI a little unsure of their racing lines sometimes. But they're generally behaving. Not seen any high strangeness from them so far. I should point out this, as you can probably tell, this version of Assetto Corsa is very heavily modded. I'm running all the content shaders patches, content manager stuff, and a few other things. Obviously as well, the track and the cars are all modded. The track I think is available on Race Department and Cars. As I said, this is the AC Touring Car Legends pack, which should be easy enough to find. Popped up one of the rear wheels under braking there. So I think the cars as represented in this mod are how they run today rather than how they would have run back in the 60s. As in the 60s they had a lot less power and were a lot softer than they are nowadays. That's despite the fact they are running to the same rules, and they'll all be running FIA technical passports to say that this car complies with the rules of the time. Rubbish exit there. This Alpha's going to have a go at us now. But that's just what happens when you race cars like these for the best part of 50 years. They do become very well developed. I believe I heard a quote the other day that they're often running 6 seconds or so a lap faster than they would have done back in the day at most tracks. Certainly with Goodwood or probably Thruxton as well, the track literally hasn't changed since the 60s, so it is a like-for-like comparison. Yeah, there's no layout changes, no reprofilings, no added chicanes. The one that's there before the pit lane was always there. That was to slow the cars down as they approach the pits, because there wouldn't have been a pit wall when the track was built. So I said some of the other AI tricks I find help with AC. Always make sure you let them qualify, even if it is just a little 5 to 10 minute session. It just it does help them off the lines, so they don't bunch up as much. And in Content Manager, make sure they've got a nice wide range of skill levels. Again, it just helps them break up a little bit. As I say, it's not the most exciting racing you'll ever get, but you're not going to get as much of the strangeness and weirdness as you would do if you didn't try any of those things. And certainly what we're seeing now is a lot more realistic than the absolute melee you'll get if you don't try these things. Of course, it's up to you how you want to run your single player games. I'm just telling you what works for me. Typically that I find those general rules tend to work in other games as well. Of course, it'll be interesting to see what comes of Well, I would say Assetto Corsa 2, but it's now Assetto Corsa Evo, isn't it? Honestly, if they want to do well with that, I think just do this again, make it nice and easy to convert your AC mods over, and just, you know, fix some of the problems that never got fixed in the original release. You know, make the AI work a bit better, give us some more options for setting up races. Maybe a bit of weather. A lot of that they've already done in AC Assetto Corsa Competizione, of course. Or maybe it'll be something completely different, who knows? It'll be interesting to see. Another benefit I have found of a nice big skill spread with the AI is you don't have to spend ages trying to match the AI to your skill level, because what will happen is typically, like you would in, you know, an online race or in real racing, you'll naturally end up around people of your sort of speed anyway. Much like this Alfa Romeo behind me, he's capable of a similar pace, so we've sort of ended up together. So while it's not as mad and exciting as potentially it could be, I'm doing this live, one recording. This is take one, and this is what's going to get uploaded. And as you'll see, that it's given me a fairly, if not super exciting, an enjoyable little short racing experience for honestly not a lot of time to set up. It took me a few minutes to put the field together. It's just pick the cars in Content Manager and tell the game to pick 25 of them. And then running a 15-minute qualifying session, which also doubled up as my little warm-up for this. There's a Hillman imp off there. I do quite like how when cars go off like that, they pull over and they stay there for a little while, and you get yellow flags that stay out for a couple of laps. I don't like that when cars, especially in offline modes, disappear within a few seconds of coming to a halt. Anyway, this will be the final lap. So, trying something a little bit different with this one. I can't say if it'll be a regular thing or not. I just had some time spare and fancy doing a bit of racing and thought I'd try recording it. Anyway, so this has been the 60s touring car experience at Goodwood in Assetto Corsa. Stuck around this long, I do hope you've enjoyed my little racing effort here. Bring it through the chicane last time. Oh, now for having a bit of a moment behind us. But there we go. Looks like we're doing an in-lap then. I wasn't sure if it was going to cut to black or... Well, we can have a little sum up then. You see the Mustangs. So that was the 60s touring experience. I hope you've enjoyed that, if you've stuck around to the end. I can't say honestly when my next live stream will be. That's probably going to be the next ISO race I do, which is probably going to be in about a month or so. So I'm going to have to miss the next round at Snetterton. Do watch out, I might do another video in the meantime. We'll just have to see. Anyway, thanks for tuning in if you have, and I'll see you next time. Cheery bye!